Welcome back everybody to Cheeky Garage, and today I'm going to attempt the most intimidating part for me about this whole process, the wiring harness. Alright, we've got the harness here. I've got some sheetrock laying around, luckily, because I live in a constant state of unfinished projects, and we've got it laid out here kind of the way it sits on the motor. This would be the back of the motor. All the way up here you've got like your MAF plug that goes to the throttle body, all of your injectors, this bank of coils, all the way back, knock sensor, driver side O2. This big old fat part of the wiring goes behind the motor. Crank position sensor. Everything's labeled as I took it off the motor, because this is my first harness I've ever done, so I tried to set myself up for success. I try to take my time, and currently that is my only advice. I'm sure I will have more at the end of this process, but anything you're not sure of, just label it. Take your time, try not to break anything, don't get in a rush, and there's a lot of things here we're going to be removing. I suspect that these are transmission stuff. I think this might be gas pedal related, so that might be staying. But again, I don't know what I don't know here. This is going to be a learning process. I'm sure there'll be a learning curve. And luckily, lt1swap.com has got us covered. I believe the guy's name's Brandon, and he has an incredible amount of detailed information on his website, lt1swap.com. You've probably already heard of it. 5.3s, 4.8s, 6.0s. I mean, all the LS's. I think some of the new stuff, some of the new LT stuff's on there. I know some of the old stuff, the old LT stuff is invaluable information right here. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna start getting this loom off, and we'll see what we find. Y'all stick with me. All right, we're back. All the loom is removed. It's quite a bit. Took, I don't know, probably an hour and a half, somewhere in there, just taking my time, making sure not to cut anything, making sure not to break anything, keeping things labeled, trying to stay organized, all that. Now, a few tips, things that I thought of as I was pulling this loom off. First, anytime you have a T, a branch in the harness, put some zip ties. Put some zip ties on that branch. That way it sits exactly like right here. This is all sitting on the motor. These will stay exactly where they were on the motor. If you don't, you may find you're flipping this harness around, getting the loom off of it, doing all that. You may find, oh shit, my branch moved over here. Put zip ties. You're pulling the loom off, you get it to here, put some zip ties on it immediately. I chose zip ties over electrical tape, so any wires that I may be pulling out of this harness to thin it out, they'll slide right through the zip ties. Electrical tape, you got the stickiness of the tape, it might be a pain, so I chose zip ties. Even if it's temporary, that's what I chose to do, and that's why. Another quick tip, any kind of single plug harness, just 2-3 wires, whatever, going to a single plug. It's not in a big wad of wires. Single lines like this, you can leave the loom on, whether you're taking it out or keeping it, because you're not going to thin one of these 3 wires out of the crank position sensor. I'm not actually going to do that. I am going to take every bit of loom off, just because I'm anal and that's just the way I am. I want to, just to have that warm and fuzzy, be able to see the wire, all that good stuff. Put fresh loom on it. But if you're working from a donor car or a known good vehicle that runs, no issues, there's no real need to take this off. You can leave this on to save yourself some time, but I will be replacing all of it. I'm taking every bit of it off. What else? You'll have an assortment of little clips along the harness. You may or may not be able to reuse them. They're just little clips like this big one was on the back of the motor, holds like the big fat part of the harness. Little clips along the fuel rail area. I just took pictures of them. I took pictures far enough back where, you know, I can see some label and see, you know, have a reference of where that was in the harness. That way when I put it back together, I can put the clip back in, and, you know, if whatever bracket or whatever it's bolted to, if it's still available on the motor, then I can reuse it and I know where it came from. So those are just a few tips. Other than that, you can see the harness is still laid out. You know, like this would be the intake. You still got all your injectors, like everything's where it was. And you know, that's that. So we're gonna start using LT1 here in just a second, lt1swap.com, and start thinning some stuff out. So sit tight. Okay, quick tip. Before you start thinning out the harness, I've already got the loom off. Before you start thinning it out, take your plugs for your ECU, verify their orientation, how they plug into the computer, and then on the inside where they face each other, label them. Mine are blue and red, because you got to take these little caps off, and then once those caps are off, you know, it might be hard to keep up with everything on what is what. So this way you've got it permanently labeled, and then you plug them back in and you'll never see that, but it'll still be there for you. So handy little tip. Okay, alright, we're gonna work on these, on the PCM plugs now, ECU plugs. My red, it's kind of already broken, I guess, from the you can see that little broken tab there. This one's kind of out. I guess that's from the professional removal of this engine, but the blue looks good, so we'll demonstrate on the blue. You got to get to the wires inside this, so you got to get these gray caps off and then the colored guys off the bottom. On the top, it's just two little pinch tabs. You just kind of pinch. Hell, I might break this one with my professional removal, but you should just be able to pinch this and pull it out. It'll probably fight you. There it goes. Let's do the same on this side. We've got some zip ties holding these down. I'm going to cut these very carefully. Okay, that opens up some space. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so if I screw up on camera, it's this is a live action, so to speak. It's putting up a fight. Come out of there. There we go. All right, there it is. Not broken, good to go. Now on the colored caps, inside on the white part, underneath the blue cap, there's little spring, not really spring, but just a plastic, you know, tab, just like any other electrical connector. Just take your little screwdriver or something, push in and pull up. And then while you're pulling up on this side, you know, not with great force or anything, just go to the other side and do the same. And now we're ready to start depinning. Okay, so it's a new day. So pretty late last night, getting as far as I did. So Brendan on his website states that this info is 1998 F-body specific. 97, 98 Corvette should be very close. Pay attention to location of 5-volt reference and ground reference. So, that being said, I went through both 80-pin connectors, pin by pin, to check them to his charts. Now, just so everybody knows, this is just for the F-body section of his website. This is not the truck motors. And there were quite a few differences that I found, pin by pin. Most of them were just a color difference. The location and the pin function was the same. It was just a difference in color. There were a few that were different function, different color. I found a post on a Corvette forum where someone listed a 1998 Corvette specific pinout. I don't have it pulled up anymore. I'll put a link to that in the description. So now that we know, where we stand in, compared to LT1 swap, I'm going to start removing everything that is listed to remove and alter. So the differences, there are some, but they are not that great. They're not too different, so we should still be able to use LT1 swap as our reference. So let's get started. Here we go. We are on the red plug, PCM plug. LT1 swap says pin number 3. You can see the numbers. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but you can see them in real life here. 1, 2, 3. Evap canister vent solenoid valve. Supposed to be a white wire. I don't have that. That's okay, because we're going to remove it anyway. Next one to remove, pin number 11. That's this one. Supposed to be a dark blue. It's already gone. Corvette didn't use it. Great. Number 14, dark green. Here we go. We have our dark green wire, pin number 14. So, says to remove. So we're going to push it up, push the wire into the connector, and you can see it comes out. So you're grabbing the right one. You're going to grab a little screwdriver or something pointy, pick would work, anything like that. Lift out on this little white tab. Get the screwdriver back behind it again, and push it down. And there it goes. And that's it. Some of these, I think different PCMs might have, or different harnesses might have, some of them have a little barb or something, and these things can be sharp. So just be careful. Don't just go ripping these out, because there are certain types of electrical plugs that this particular individual wire does not have it, but just be mindful that some of these connections can be sharp and you could potentially pierce a neighboring wire. So we've got this unplugged. I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to go through the rest of this plug and pull out all the pins it says to pull out, and then we'll finish chasing them out here in a minute. Alright, we got the red plug. Everything coming out is out. A lot of the things that the website says to remove were already gone. A lot of it was EGR, and I don't know if it was a year model or if it was Corvette specific, but mine doesn't have EGR. So these are the wires, and I think what I'm going to do, let me set the camera down. I think what I'm going to do is, I've got the zip ties so you can slide the wires. That's going to work pretty nice, but they've got the bottom of the pin kind of has a little burr to it. So I'm going to snip them. I'm going to leave myself enough room when I snip in case I've made a mistake somewhere. I'm going to leave myself enough room to be able to splice and solder back together if need be, just in case. But I'm going to snip just so I don't drag that sharp piece back along all these wires and potentially, splice some stuff up. So I'm just cutting the connector ends off. Again, I've never done this before, so I may be screwing up royally, but we shall see. And then we're just going to chase all these wires back to wherever the hell they're going. And that'll be that. Got a gray wire. Oh, missed one. Alright, so we're just going to do that the rest of the way back to the harness, and that'll be that. We have now removed all of the wires that will be removed completely, and now we need to identify all of the wires that we still need that will have to be run to an external source, most of which will be coming from this big block connector or this guy. I don't know the official labeling of those, but that's what they look like in my situation. So we're going to use lt1swap.com as this reference. We're going to use the light blue aqua color. Those are the ones that we need to retain, but just clip the ends of them off and label them. So it's saying number 37 on we're on the red. We're going to go to number 37. It's a brown and white. I've found when I'm trying to pin stuff out, if you take it and push the wire in that way, it'll poke out, and then you can just set it down. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to look through these other ones. There's no brown and white there. I'm going to get the big block here. And we've got some brown and whites. Here we go right here. We've got, this one might be a black and white. We're going to try this one. This one looks like brown and white. We've got some other brown wires. Don't see a white stripe. They seem a little thicker. So I'm willing to bet that this is the one. So we got our multimeter just set to ohms. Just checking continuity. On the back side we are 2 over, 4 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then since we have poked out our pin on the connector, it's really easy to find and come back to. And that's it. So now we're just going to snip it. We're going to snip that. Going to throw some tape on there with a label, and that is our MIL control. MIL, that's going to be your check engine light. And so you're just going to do that for the whole list here, all of the aqua colored ones, the light blue. And at that point, you should have a standalone harness. So I'll be right back. And there it is, just like that. Everything is out of the block connector. It's all here, ready to terminate. It's all labeled. Something to know, all of the pink wires, and there's a lot of them, all of the pink wires in this block connector are 12 volt switched. They're all 12 volt when the ignition's on. There are 2 orange wires in this bundle. Here's one of them. There's another one in there. Those are constant 12 volt. Then there's a couple other different colored ones. In my situation, I couldn't find a pinout for this plug for a 1998 Corvette. So it took some digging. It took a lot of just pinning out on the multimeter. I mean, really, it added a few minutes. It really wasn't that bad. And I've gone ahead and taped up, you know, at least the larger branches, just so they stay there. But that's it. I mean, we should be good. Standalone LS1 1998 out of a Corvette. Deleted all automatic transmission, so this should, you know, this setup would be good for a manual or non-electric automatic. So there's all the loom that came off. Ignore those. Those are my coil wires. There's the wires that came out. A bunch of transmission stuff, emission stuff, and this is what we have left. So honestly, guys, this is the first time I've ever done this. It was pretty intimidating to start. I've never done, I mean, I mess with wiring here and there, but nothing, with this many freaking wires. And it's really not bad. If I can do it, you can do it. Especially if you have something more common. If you're doing a 5.3 or not an oddball 1998 Corvette, it should be a walk in the park because all of the information's there. F-body stuff, truck stuff, the more common stuff, it's all there. I ran into a few little issues, but we're there. We're done. I gotta put some more tape on it in some places, put some loom on it, but that's it. And that's all there is to it. If I can do it, you can do it. Till next time, guys, have a good one.